I bought a non-running, crash damage Lamborghini Svj Roadster. Of course, at a highly discounted price. £1,000. When we got the car back into the workshop, we actually managed to get it running and driving. But it doesn't quite run right, and it doesn't really let me rev it. So today, we've got to fix it. Now this SVJ looks like it's lived a hard life. It's extremely dusty, and a lot of the underside was covered in rust, corrosion, and in some places, mould. So before we continue building this car, we dropped it off to the ice blasters, where they blast the car with dry ice, which pretty much freezes the dirt on it and then blasts it off in the next shot. This should get the whole car looking back to how it should. But whilst the guys were doing it, they stumbled across another problem.
It's got a bit of an issue, so Dad's had to come and have a look, see if we can fix it. Wow, look at that.
That's mad.
It's like new.
That's crazy how new that looks.
That is.
Now the part that's leaking the green fluid looks like it was coming from the same place which we repaired before.
See where it's clean.
Oh, on the other
we haven't
side.
blasted up there because obviously because of the leak.
Now this is at the front of the gearbox, and all of these things are the solenoids which are used to change the gear in the car.
So before, it was this one. It was this solenoid here, Toby.
Yeah.
That was the one that was damaged. But there is another one up there.
And it looks like it's the other one on the other side which is leaking now. And if all the fluid leaks out, we won't be able to start the car because it won't go in neutral. Now we figured out in the last video that the damage was caused from an impact underneath, and the gearbox mount you can see is cracked, which is then pushed up into one of the solenoids, causing it just to lift away from the pump and then leak the fluid out. But it looked like it not only did damage to one solenoid, it's also done it to the other side.
That bit there is bent off. But what we're going to do, we're going to make that one look like that one.
You can see the surface on this solenoid isn't flat, and if it's not flat, then the seal isn't going to do its job and it's going to lose all of its oil. So my dad got his favourite tool out to try and knock the seat of the solenoid back to its flat position, then he can install it back into the gearbox just like we did before. And once that's all in, he can refill the hydraulic system with the mineral oil until it starts coming out again, and then it should be good to go. No more leaks. For now, anyway.
Okay, that's done. Let's get the car back to the unit.
Suzanne, the SVJ is back from the ice blasters and it looks brand new, as it should, and it's literally looks so good underneath, on top, in the engine bay especially, but it has made me notice something which could be a bit of a problem. These SVJs have a carbon tub. The part that you actually sit in is made out of carbon, which is really rigid and strong. But the part which holds the engine is made out of aluminium. It's a full aluminium frame bolted to the carbon tub. Now we know we had a little bit of damage to the frame in the last video, which actually Bob was able to cut out and re-weld in an aluminium piece to make it look exactly the same as factory. But we think we have some more damage at the top of the frame now. Right here, you can see it's sort of squashed up. It's bulged up, which would mean that there's been some kind of force, it's been some kind of force going in that direction. And this bulge means we could have some serious twists in the chassis. And this is where the majority of the damage was. So potentially I think something has pushed it that way, which is not good. And there's a few ways to sort of figure out whether something is bent or broken, and we're gonna have to do that. And the first step really is to unbolt this X brace and see if everything kind of pings back to where it should, because that brace has definitely moved. Now, best case scenario here is I remove the bolts for this X brace and then the frame moves back, and if we try to put the bolts back in for the X brace, the holes won't line up. And luckily, that seems to be the case. You can see the bolt holes are just out of line now. The holes do not line up with the chassis, which would say to me that the chassis moved that way, the brace is squashed up, but as soon as I've unbolted it, the chassis moved back, because now the bolt hole doesn't line up there and just nearly lines up there. I would find it weird if the chassis had moved and stayed where it was, because I can't see any other visual damage. Even these braces down here, there's no damage to them at all. So I think that brace has actually done a really good job, because without it, it could have pushed the chassis all the way over. It's damaged, now we need to replace it. But I guess the best way to find out is to buy a new X brace and then see if it all lines up with the bolt holes. But now I'm removing the old one, and the way we can measure the chassis now is with this tram gauge. This gauge will go on a fixed point on the back left and a fixed point on the top right of the chassis. We'll then lock the tram gauge in place so it's at a certain measurement, and then measure crossways, and it should give us the same reading. On that bolt, right in the middle. Right. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, look. In. Look at that. Look at that, and then do a switch whilst we're live, and switch it. Look, in. Boom! In. That's good news. That is actually good news, because the chassis hasn't moved, so when we buy a new cross brace, it should just go straight in. Extremely good news. It means we don't have to remove the engine to replace that whole rear frame. One problem out the way. Now let's get on to the next one. So the reason the car is not running right and I can't rev it is because the exhaust doesn't have any of the Lambda sensors in it, and that measures the fuel air mixture coming out of the combustion chamber, so it doesn't really have a clue what it's doing. And the only reason we can suss out why there's no Lambda sensors there is because there must have been an aftermarket exhaust on it, and before it's gone to the insurance, I think they've pulled off the exhaust, put the standard one back in, and not plugged anything in. We've got a solution, and it is almost illegal to put back on a standard exhaust on an SVJ. So first thing, let's get the standard exhaust off. So the goal is to get this SVJ running the way it should. And as it looks like this exhaust has just been thrown on, it's probably best for us just to start from scratch so we know exactly what's missing from the exhaust and from the engine bay. We've now undone the bolts holding the back box to the front pipes. Yay! Then me and Liam can remove the back box, which is a big old thing, which is muffling a lot of sound as well. And now that that's out the way, we can access both front pipes. Standard exhaust is off, and it is the standard exhaust. There's no aftermarket exhaust on that. It is wham. There's loads of bolts missing out of it. And speaking of bolts missing out of things, we had a problem with the front pipes. Liam, what's happened here?
So we've just took the top one off. Yeah. And what should happen now is you've got to undo the bottom one.
Which is hard to get to.
Which is hard to get to.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, Susie.
There wasn't even one on the bottom.
No. I can see why they put one on the bottom.
Wait. Zoom in.
Oh, it is there.
It's there.
Wait. The clamp was actually there, but whoever's thrown this exhaust back on, I guess, couldn't be bothered to try and put the bolt in. It made our job easier.
Easy.
Yeah. Let's undo that side. And on the left side of the car, we've undone the top V-band clamp to remove the bolt. And once that was removed, it wasn't a surprise that the bottom one wasn't done up either. Yeah, boy. So those front pipes come out nice and easy, along with the standard back box. Stock exhaust is off, but we don't think it's a stock exhaust. We think these are sports cats because they seem way too small. And luckily as well, so the Lambda sensors, they've actually marked them 1, 3, 4, and 2. And that would actually match up to these plugs here, which are labelled by Lamborghini 1, 3, 4, and 2. So hopefully, if we're trusting what they did, this should go in the right place. And we've just done it, we've just marked them the same on the other side. So hopefully that works. Before we show you the new exhaust, we want to be children. And we want to see what it sounds like with no exhaust on at all, V12 screaming out the back. So I think you're going to start it. my days. Oh my days. The heat that come off the back of that, so it won't let us rev it because of the no lambda sensor issues. That was loud.
That was really loud.
That was insanely loud. Now we need to turn that loudness into a pitch, which we've got a solution for. This is a necessary requirement for a Lamborghini Svj. This is why the Svj has the soul. A full straight pipe system from Valvetronic. We've got the front pipes, and then we've got the rear silencer, which is just pure titanium. Like that has got no weight to it at all.
That is not silencing anything.
No, and I've learned, do you know why titanium exhausts are louder than steel's exhausts?
No.
Because the titanium is more rigid, so it doesn't absorb sound as much. So because it's like a harder metal, it vibrates more, which makes more noise. The only thing is they're really brittle, so yeah, you just don't want to hit them or anything. And then on top of that, the absolute bad boy gold.
You can fit the camera in there.
I know, that is, look at that. That passes the arm test, and these are going to go on the bumper over here. We're going to need a new bumper because this one's broken, but we've got gold tips which are going to shoot flames out.
That's going to look sick.
That's going to look crazy. So let's start with the front pipes. And we're going to need some lambda sensors. There's two sensors which go before the cat and two afterwards. The first sensor is to tell the ECU how well the car's burning the fuel. And the second sensor tells the ECU how well the catalytic converter's working. And then the ECU can adjust the fuel air intake to make it perfect. So we're hoping once we install these, it will take the car out of limp mode and we'll actually be able to rev it. Now there's 8 sensors altogether, and these aren't cheap from Lamborghini. £184.69 each for the front, and then for the rear ones, £82.94. But it's Bosch that make these lambda sensors, and if you cross-reference the part number, you can find the front ones for £81 and the rear ones for £86 if you don't buy them from Lamborghini. Nice way of saving a bit of money without compromising the quality because they're exactly the same. Once the lambda sensors are in the front pipes, me and Liam can guide them back into place. On the left side, I had to dismantle a fair bit just to get it into the right position, and I can see why now the guys who put the stock exhaust on left a few bolts out because it was quite fiddly. But eventually the front pipes were all in. Whilst we're at the back of the car, probably a good time to change some of the oil cooler brackets because these are all bent and twisted, and there's not much we can do about that. Unfortunately, there's no cheat code or hack for finding cheaper oil cooler brackets. These are made specifically for the Aventador. In with the new from Lamborghini. And this bracket was £58. And it was hard for us to even find a second-hand one. So we had to buy new. Right, that pipe is definitely bent because it's stopping me from turning this that way. And it looks like I'm going to need a top oil cooler pipe as well. But let's get back to the exhaust. Now I'm taking off the exhaust hangers off the stock exhaust and putting them onto the Valvetronic. There's 2 hangers on the top of it and 2 hangers on the bottom. And that is almost ready to go on. Last part is the heat shielding. It's an ugly old thing, but we don't want to be setting fire to the back of the car or causing any unnecessary heat soak in the engine. On go the V-band clamps on the front pipes, ready for the new exhaust. The Valvetronic is going on, and then me and my dad are going to guide the Valvetronic into place, tighten up all the hangers and the V-band clamps, bolt the heat shield up, and that is all in. Okay, exhaust and everything's plugged in. That should stop us from being in limp mode. It should be able to allow us to rev it. What we want to do now is, because we're going to be revving it and seeing if it actually works, I want to make sure the correct oil's in it. But to check the oil on these V12s, you've got to warm up the car and then dip the oil in. But just to be safe, and because we don't know when the last service was on this car, we're just going to drain all the oil that's in it and refill it with the correct amount of oil, change the oil filter, then we're 100% sure that it's got fresh oil in it, we're not going to damage anything. So next step, let's get this oil out. Up goes the SVJ. And this isn't like your regular car for dropping the oil. First I'm removing the bung for the oil tank at the back of the car. After that, there's one sump bung, another sump bung, another sump bung, and one more sump bung. That's because this car has a baffled sump, almost like dividers in the bottom of it. This is to stop oil starvation when going round corners fast on track. If all the oil sloshes to one side, then the oil pickup pipe might struggle to pick any up, but the baffles prevent that happening. Next step, the oil filter. Oh! Right, 13 litres of Valvoline oil and a genuine Lamborghini oil filter. It's made by UFI Filters, the same as the Murcielago, and they must have a deal with Lamborghini, and you'll see later on in the video how loads of other brands have deals with Lamborghini. If you go to UFI and try and order an oil filter, they won't give you it because they're patent to Lamborghini, so they must have a deal where they only sell to Lamborghini. So you have to buy it from there. Let's pre-fill the oil filter so it doesn't have to crank to fill up with oil. In goes the Valvoline oil into the oil filter, and then we're going to just smear a little bit of the oil around the seal just to stop it from grabbing when we're twisting it into the bottom of the engine. And in that goes, along with all of the sump bungs at the bottom. Tighten them up, and then we can bring the SVJ back down. 13 litres of Valvoline oil.
Do you want me to put it in the wrong hole?
Hannah eventually found the right hole to put the oil in, and in goes 13 litres of it. Job done. Before we start this and hear this exhaust for the first time, because it's going to bring this building down, I think, we need to clear the fault codes on the dash to make sure that all the fault codes are clear, but because I don't want any battery related fault codes, we're going to switch the battery over first as well. Then, let's get the start up. Let's get the new battery on. Out with the old battery and in with the new one. Yeah, apparently.
Exactly like
they need
this.
2 technicians to fit a battery. Yeah! Hannah decided that she'd like to fit the battery instead, but she was a little nervous. Bang! But eventually, the new battery was in place and we were ready to go. New battery, fitted, clear the fault codes, start the car. In fact, we might not need to clear the fault codes because we disconnected the battery. We ready to start it?
Send it.
This is going to be an orchestra. This is what SVJs are about. Ready?
What, are you ready? Are you ready?
Everyone's ready.
Even though this car's still in pieces, this is one of the moments I've been waiting for the most. The sound of the exhaust. Okay, just put the ignition on to start with. Okay. There's still a lot of faults we need to get through, but hopefully now it's out of limp mode. Okay. Come on! Yeah? Hannah, see if it'll rev a bit. Whoa! It's a bit smoky. I think he's burning off a lot of the oils on the exhaust. Do it again, do it again! It's big flames! Oh my god! Come and have a look at this! Oh my god, valvetronic exhaust, everyone. That was absolutely insane.
I think round of applause.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
nuts.
What do you think, Hannah?
So cool.
Yeah?
That's my favourite.
That was worth every penny. Even Kevin was jumping for joy for that. How can anybody want to buy an electric car? That was insane. Let's carry on building the SVJ, because at the end of this video, we hopefully are going to be able to drive it in some kind of state. That was insane. Let's go. We're going to start at the back. And the one thing that we missed out in the last video is this handbrake caliper. This is the handbrake caliper. That's a normal brake caliper, but in order for the handbrake to actually squash on to the disc, you need a motor on the back. And the motor looks like this from the accident. From Lamborghini, £274 just for that little motor there. Off eBay, £19.95p. But there is a small difference, and we're just hoping that that small difference doesn't matter. Here's our issue. Yeah, it's gonna be a... So look, you see the plugs are in different areas. Like the actual thing is fine, but the plugs are in different areas. But there's only one way to find out whether this is actually gonna work. Plug it in, give it a try. Right, I'm gonna press the handbrake, and you'll see.
But we want to know if that spins. Is that the
Yeah, we'll see if it works first. Let's see if it works first. You hold it, I'll press the handbrake.
Yeah, it's spinning. Yeah.
There's a chance it'll work. There is a chance it could be doing the wrong thing, but we can test that. Now there's only 2 terminals on the plug, and if those terminals are the wrong way round, then the motor might be spinning the opposite to what I'm pressing in the car. And if it is, we've got to switch them round. Right, that's connected. Let's see if it's working the right way round. I'll put the handbrake on, and it seems to work.
Yeah, that's on. Oh, that's on.
Yeah. And off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's off. Yeah, it's off.
That's one problem solved. Again, saving us a bit of cash. Time to get underneath. Here, across here, should be a mount. It used to be like this. But in the accident, or a forklift, we don't know yet, something has pushed that up, and that's what caused our gearbox issues in the last video. So this is fully broke. Unfortunately, we can't cross-reference this onto any other car because it's only the SVJ that has a gearbox going forward, whereas all like the Hurricanes, the R8s and everything has the gearbox going backwards. So we've got a new one here from Lamborghini. Now this mount was pretty expensive, £1,455. But again, we had no choice, and I don't expect anything less from Lamborghini. Once I've got the bushing out, I put a bit of rubber grease around it and slide the bush into the mount, and then we can bolt it back onto the gearbox, not forgetting the ground wire which went over the top of it, and then there's 4 bolts which hold the mount to the carbon fibre top. Sweet. Next step, we're carrying on with the rear. We've got the broken frame at the back here, which is just broke there. We've got a new one. There's a few brackets we've got to take off this to fit on that, and then that can go on along with the lower crash bar. Let's go. Again, another part of the car that we can't really cheap out on. £1,800 for this new frame, but it does mount the rear lights and the rear spoiler, and we're gonna need it. Once that frame's in, me and Liam could then guide the crash bar in, which didn't have any damage to it at all. Then we can move to the front of the car. Now we're going to the front. We've got a load of broken bars, and one of the broken bars is this. This is, it's not been hit from the front, and that's why it's squashed in. It's been hit from the top. The wing was actually smashed in that way. So we've got to replace this bar. Luckily, this unbolts from the carbon top up here. Let's get this bar off, and then we can start fixing everything else around this area. As I showed previously, the front frame and the rear frame of the car both unbolt from the carbon tub, and it's no different for this part here, which I have ordered, but it hasn't arrived just yet. Prime bit of Lamborghini engineering. But now that the bar's off, it's given us a chance to fix some other parts on the front, like this brake cooling duct, which is all broken up. Boom! And it looks like we're gonna have to steal the bracket off it, because the new one didn't come with it. Again, another pretty expensive part from Lamborghini at £606. But where else are we going to get one of these from? Once we've riveted the bracket on, we can slide the duct back into place and bolt it back onto the chassis leg. Now there was some parts which we were able to fix, and we sent them over to Bob at the machine shop, where he was able to clean them up and re-weld part of the tabs back on which have snapped off, and even powder coated them as well for us to make them look nice and clean.
Spot on.
And here is the bracket that Bob replaced. Thanks Bob at the machine shop. It's nicely powder coated as well. Actually looks better than Lamborghini. Now we can fit the bracket to the front chassis leg and it lines up perfectly. And this bracket actually holds the horn and the headlight, which we'll get onto. We wanted to see how big the flames actually get once it warmed up. What's it?
That's so loud.
That's mental.
That's mental.
It's definitely going to be deaf before he gets to 60.
A lot of the stuff we're still waiting for at the front, that's going to be here in a minute, but we have an issue with this door, and this door, the window's always been down, but it's gone up, and we think the window goes up, but for now, because the window doesn't go down, can't open the door, so it's getting stuck there. Check the fuses, they're fine. Press the window switch in there, that doesn't do anything. I can press it, doesn't do anything with the ignition on. I can hear it trying to go up, but it won't go down. I've read the fault codes, I've got nothing regarding the door, so the car actually thinks it's fine, so it's not like something's unplugged. The only thing I can think is that the motor in the window is broken or it's got damp or something, and because we can't lift the door open, we can't get the door card off from inside to have a look at the window. So we're thinking if we undo this hinge a bit to lower it down, lower the door down, it might come out, but let's give that a try. So there's 4 bolts holding the door hinge to the carbon chassis of the car. My dad's undoing these now, and then I was able to slide the door away so the window didn't catch on the seal. With the door out the way, we can now lift it up as if it was open, and then my dad was going to put back in the bolts which hold the hinge to the carbon tub. Now we can access the inner door panel. To get this off, I'm removing this speaker cover, and there's 1 bolt there. I've got to undo that. And then remove this little puddle light, and there's 1 bolt holding it in there. And that's literally it. The door panel will come off. That is the lightest door panel ever. And I bet it's probably one of the most expensive door panels ever. £5,869 worth of door panel. Right, here's the actual window motor here. Right, next step, let's put the multimeter in there and see if there's actually any power going to the motor. Yeah. But there wasn't anything. Absolutely nothing. Oh, that one ain't even working now either. We figured we may need the door card plugged in for everything to work. I don't know why that's the case, but we're not going to question Lamborghini. Click in. Yeah.
That one works good.
So everything's got to be plugged in
For the windows to work. So with the door card plugged in, we unplugged the motor to see if there was any power going to it, but there was none still. Nothing. So the motor might be fine, but there's no power going to it. Is the signal not coming out of the door control module to tell the window to go down? I decided to disconnect the motor from the window regulator, then we could see if we could send power to it ourselves. That way we'd know if it actually works. And when we got it off, it did work. Okay, so it goes one way. Power was going to it. It won't go the other. But it wouldn't go down by itself. So either switch is bad, or the computer in there is bad. Because the motor's fine, but the only way to know is if I take that switch and put it on that side. I think we might have to do that. But after a while of being really careful, trying not to break the switch panel out of the center console, we actually found out that the switch panel was one complete unit with only one plug. So it's not actually possible to switch over the window switches. So we had to go to plan B, and that was to dismantle the driver's side door. So we think this computer controls the window and the door, It's the same on the other side. Well, it's not the same on the other side. There is a left-hand side and right-hand side one, but we're going to switch them and see if that makes this window go up and down. Hopefully it works. Let's take this one off. This door module here controls everything in the door. We're removing the passenger side and was going to switch it with the driver's side one. Mine's got, but they were slightly different. That on the top right, and yours has got it on the bottom right. But there was no harm in trying. I'm plugging everything in now, from the driver's side door into the passenger side door, and then plugging the passenger side in the driver's door to make a full circuit. Okay, that side, nothing. This side, also nothing. But neither of it worked. So that side doesn't work on that side, and that side doesn't work on that side. So what's the fix? We still don't know. We know the motor's good because it spins. This could be the issue. But we don't know. I still think the problem is with this computer. The switch works going up but not down, which seems strange to me. Why would the switch just break in the downward position? And the motor goes up but not down. And I've never seen a motor only work one way and not the other. So surely it's the module. Money's on that it's this. Why this is broken, I don't know. Maybe just Lamborghini. I've ordered one, £58. We'll find out later whether that was the issue. For now, there's even more things to fix that we've got to get cracking on with. Let's go. Most of this car is going to paint, and eventually we will be changing the colour. But a good thing about the SVJ is that all the panels can remove and go to the body shop separately. We don't actually have to drop the full car to them. So what I'm doing now is removing the side skirts, some body panels, and then going over to the driver's side, which was undamaged, and removing the rear quarter panel, side skirts, and everything else that needs to be painted. And that leaves the bare skeleton of the car. This is ready for paint now. Let's move on to the back. There's a breather pipe here which seems to have melted, so I've had to buy a new one. If we didn't fix this, then it'd also flag an engine warning light on the dashboard.
Melted.
So out with the old and in with the new. A nice easy fix there. Boom. New wing mirror, because the old one is not here. I assume it only got yeeted off in the crash and don't know where it got put. But I bought one which was, I just put in the part number, which looks like it's come off like a Passat or something like that. But it looks like it's not a dimmable mirror. This wire here, when you plug this wire in, it looks like you got that auto dim maybe. I don't know if that's going to affect it or not, and I'm not that bothered about it because, like, how often do you look in the mirror? Oh yes, we've got a mirror. Back to the front of the car, and here's the crash bar, and an expensive crash bar at that. And the good news is it lines up with the front chassis legs, so nothing's bent there. Here we go. And here's another part of the frame. We managed to get this a little bit cheaper, but there was a bolt snapped into it. So we had to drill the bolt out and then put in another riv nut. Not too much of a problem, but it saved a fair bit of cash buying a new one from Lamborghini. So it's out with the old one and in with the new bar. Again, we're hoping that this lines up straight with the chassis, proving again that nothing's bent on the front. What was next? And we're back on with the door. Now, at the minute, the door won't close because the window is stuck up, and we've had to move the door out so we can actually get it up. We're hoping that it is this computer. It was a bit of a guess, to be honest, though. So we've ordered one. It was £50 for a genuine one. We tried to swap the one out the right side into the left side. That didn't work because they're different for each side. This is the moment of truth now, whether this is going to work or we've got a more serious problem, which, if it ain't this, the only other thing I can see it being is the switch. But it seems weird that the switch would go up but not down. Here we go. Out for the motor. Out for the plug. Out for that plug. In with the motor. Plug. In with the motor plug. And it needed the door card on for everything to work. Come on, window, come on, it's got to work. In. In. Right, we know that motor goes up. We want to see if it goes down. Up. Please go down. Yes! Come on! So it was this computer all along. Why that computer has failed and the only thing that's failed on that computer is the window going down is a mystery. So now I could put the motor back into the window regulator and this door should now work how it should. This is a thing with buying crash damaged cars. Sometimes you're fixing the problems from the crash and then you're also having to fix problems that the car already had before the crash. And this might have been one of them. But now that that door card's on, we're getting through these problems. And the actual frame of the car is nearly there. I'm now lining the door back up and Matt's tightening up the hinge and we're gonna test it. Any good?
Yeah, we're in.
Yeah! Get in! One working passenger door. Over here is a bit carnage. Everything has been coming just in dribs and drabs from Lamborghini. Whatever they've had, it's come, and whatever hasn't come has not come. Whatever we're getting second hand is coming in dribs and drabs and all over the place. But one thing which is absolutely hilarious, out of all of this, which has all come from Lamborghini, you can see all the packaging is Lamborghini. This is the most funny thing of all. Right here is the engine cover or the boot lid for the SVJ. And the way you sort of unhatch it, you sort of latch them up like a race car, and then you lift that up and it releases, and then to lock it down, you push it down like that. Now, for some reason on this side, I don't know if it's happened in the accident, I don't know, but this is all broken off. So I thought, well, we need a new one, and the only place we're gonna get one from is Lamborghini, because I imagine these are special size for the SVJ. So these were extortionate. Over £700 for this, and they arrived. Look, here's the part number, so for you guys to check out yourself. Here's the part number from Lamborghini, and when they arrived, we opened them up to find this. Not even joking. They've come from a different manufacturer, which is made in the UK, and Lamborghini haven't even bothered to remove the packaging. It even says aerocatch.com, and inside here, like, these are going back, by the way, so inside here are the catches. Look, you get the keys, you get everything, and that's what we need to replace that. But over £700 for these, and then I'm thinking, well, how much are they directly from aerocatch.com? And I just put the part number in. So I went on aerocatch.com, found them on aerocatch.com for £70. And this is what's arrived. So from £70, oh my God, it's exactly the same. Look at that. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same. £700 from Lamborghini, £70 directly from the people that make them from Lamborghini. Lamborghini didn't even bother to take their branding off. Insane. Cheeky Lamborghini, but I don't expect nothing less. Few more things to fix now before finally getting this car driving. And one of them is this wonky oil cooler. To get it straight, we need a new oil cooler pipe, because that's what's holding it in this position. I'm going to unbolt the 2 bolts holding one section of the oil cooler pipe to the other section of it, and we shouldn't lose too much oil because this pipe is pretty high up. That's the bent pipe removed from the cooler, and now it should allow me to put the cooler into the bracket which we fitted earlier. And it does. It lines up nicely. Just put a little bit of sealer on there, although there is an oil seal on there, so we should be okay. Now I've got to guide the new oil cooler pipe into place, tighten those 2 bolts up so it fits snug against the other part of the pipe, and then bolt it to the cooler. And finally, the scoop-de-whoop, which goes in. This air guide simply just bolts to the cooler with 4 bolts. And once that's on, the oil cooler is no longer wonky. Almost at the point where the Aventador, or the SVJ, or Suzanne, is mechanically good and structurally good. We're missing a few more things, which is, one of them is this bar here, and this was like a special order part. We're still waiting for that bar. But the stuff I could get secondhand, I bought secondhand. And look at this. I've got a brand new secondhand headlight. For a new headlight, £4,000 plus VAT. Absolutely insane. There's no way to cheat code this. We can't get a lot of any other car. We can't do it. Like, this is well and truly broken. It's not only the glass, it's the casing underneath. So, second hand, I got one for £1,900. It's still expensive. Let's just plug this in. Right, what are we saying? Big moment.
Big moment, I think it's going to work.
I hope it's going to work, because it was £1,900.
Yes, she's on.
Is it on?
Yeah. Full beams, yeah, she's working. Indicator, yeah.
Yes! Is it on?
Yeah.
Come on!
Ah.
£1,900, well spent if you ask me. Oh, she's coming to life. Almost there on getting the SVJ actually driving, but we're going to need a set of wheels, and mine haven't arrived yet.
Go on.
Yeah, can we borrow your wheels?
Oh, has my car turned into the new Sue?
So I sent my dad up to Mark's place to borrow his wheels off his SVJ, whilst me and Liam carried on with ours. And I thought it was about time we did a little price check-up on how much we spent. So far to get where we are with the SVJ, we have bought all of these parts, which is a total of £11,564, which really, added on top of £230,000, we are doing really well.
We've sneaked in. Mark, I don't know whether you knew, but we're stealing your wheels, and next week we might be back for the engine.
Where I could save money on this build, I've saved money on this build, because we all know how much it sucks having to pay for something that we might not necessarily have had to pay for. But then again, we all know how good it feels to get money back that you might not have necessarily known you were actually owed.
Do you know how much those centre caps are?
I don't.
They are £800 each.
Oh my days.
And for my guys and girls in the UK, I'm about to tell you how you could potentially get some money back for being missold car finance. But first, some more parts have arrived. Finally! This is the moment we've been waiting for, which I've been worried about the whole time. This X-brace. So remember on our one, here, you can see the bulge there. Now, the theory was that when we've actually unbolted it from the chassis is pinged back. But we're about to find out, because we've got a second-hand one here, which is slightly different. This is off an Aventador Roadster. It's the same shape, same movements, but the Aventador Roadster, you see, has an engine cover which goes in there and there. So I may just get a proper one. I don't know, like, whether it's going to be worth it or not. Proper ones are 1,800 quid. And in fact, it's going to do the same job, and it's just going to have extra tabs on it, but I don't know. It's an expensive car, innit? So we're about to find out whether the chassis is bent, because if these bolt holes don't line up, we've got a serious problem. And we're about to find out. But let me go back to explaining how you could potentially get some money back. Now, up to 40% of car finance deals between 2007 and 2021 have been missold in what could be up to an £18 billion payout.
The recent Supreme Court ruling has said that the discretionary commission arrangements were unfair.
That's where dealers secretly increase your interest to earn more commission. And this affected up to 14 million car owners.
The call-up boys have brought the tools.
Yeah,
look
we've
at
got
that.
the tools, look.
That's professional.
Is it?
All of this means that you could be owed up to £950 per agreement.
Have you ever worked on a £500,000 car before, but as a customer's, not as your son's?
No, that's why it's nerve-wracking.
Now, sure, you can complain directly to your lender for free, take it to the financial ombudsman, or simply wait for the new
FCA finance scheme.
No. FCA redress scheme.
Oh, yeah.
But if you are planning on doing any of them, lenders are already saying it's hard to trace back deals to 2007 because data's missing or it's been deleted.
That could make automatic payouts tricky.
But the good news is the new X-Brace seems to have lined up. Oh yes. Once we do all these up, we should be structurally good. So if you're unsure of which lender you've used, can't find your paperwork, or simply want somebody else to handle it all for you, then there's an easier way.
Reclaim 247.
They'll search for any car finance in your name. All they need is your name, address, and date of birth. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm sure Mark won't mind. There's no paperwork, no car registration, and it is no win, no fee. It takes 60 seconds to start your claim, so go to reclaim247.co.uk to start your claim today. Let's get this out of here. We now know the SVJ is structurally good and it is out of limp mode, so it should be mechanically good. But there's only one place I can think of to prove that before we start doing the final assembly on the SVJ. And that is Mallory Performance. In a couple of weeks, we are going to be fully testing this car out, and we haven't really got much time to actually road test it. So this is a perfect opportunity to see whether the SVJ actually runs right by putting it on the dyno completely bare. We're hoping it runs right, goes through all the gears, and of course, makes a lot of noise. Let's get it on the dyno and see what the power is running and if it's actually running right. This seems mental to do this at this stage, but actually there's some logic behind it. If there is any problems with the car, then at this moment, the car's stripped. So everything's a lot easier to get to, which means it's a lot easier to fix if there is a problem. I am bricking it. This is gonna be so loud. 770 horsepower. About to run on the dyno after we've just rebuilt it. Oh my God, I am scared. Now before Phil runs it, he has to calibrate the dyno. And we're going to be doing this run in 5th gear. And so far, everything seems good. When it got to the run, it was different. The car just completely cut power as soon as we got to 60 mile an hour. So before we carried on, we scanned the fault codes. And we had two. One was a problem with the rear wheel steering, and the other one was a problem with the EVAP system. The EVAP system is to do with the vapours from the fuel tank. And as we've had the rear quarter off, along with the fuel filler cap, I thought it might be something to do with that. That's on, isn't it? That's this plug here, I'm guessing that's why it's saying open circuit. That plug is for the filler cap thing, so I'm guessing because that's unplugged, it's saying open circuit. But we actually managed to clear that fault. But it's the rear wheel steering. The rear wheel steering could affect our traction, to why we can't turn it off to get this car running. And if we can't turn the traction off, of course it's not going to run on the dyno. So see if Phil can like clear it off somehow. I don't know if there's a way to activate. We might need to clear it and then just run it straight away to confuse it. I don't know. So the EVAP fault is gone, but the only fault left is that rear wheel steering. And it is possible that that is restricting the speed, but let's try. Hopefully this time. We'll get to 30 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour, 50, and then at 60, the power cuts. And we have nothing. This is some kind of limp at 60 mile an hour. It's got to be to do with that rear wheel steering. That's the only fault we've got. Now the fault says that it's lost communication with the rear wheel steer control module. So that's almost like it's unplugged. But we went to the back of the car to have a look at the connections there, and everything seemed fine and plugged in. But we tried for so long before we had to call it a day. This car wasn't going to do a power run on the dyno. So we tried, but we failed. It seems like the car it's limited at 60 mile an hour, and we think it's to do with the rear wheel steer module. That's the only fault we've got, and it's on the back left side. Even though we repaired it, I think it's limited it at 60 mile an hour. So we've got to get back to the unit, try and work out whether it is the rear wheel steer module, because the new one is £5.5 grand, and I don't want to have to buy a £5.5 grand one when that one looks fine, because just have a broken wire somewhere. So a failed attempt, but off the car goes back on the trailer and back to the unit. Annoying, But I've got back and I have checked all the power going to the rear wheel steer module. These are the 3 plugs which lead to it, and all of them have got power and they've got signal, and they go underneath here to this motor right here which controls the rear wheel steering. So it looks like we may have to buy a new rear wheel steer motor, which is £5,500, which is just disgusting. But it's a good job we found out now rather than later. And let's not put a downer on it. Suzanne the SVJ is pretty much all ready for her body panels and she'll be back on the road. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.
Finance redress team.
It's